Welcome to the webinar. My name is Olga. I would like to welcome Wayne Chapin, the President and CEO of Xerillion.
Thanks, Olga. When you put in Microsoft Teams, it's going to replace internal email. So right now, you have this mailbox inside of Outlook and just everything goes in there. Internal emails, external emails, all that sort of stuff. You will go from collaborating internally in Outlook to collaborating internally in Teams. So by replacing internal emails, you are replacing emails that with you and one other person, or you with multiple people, group emails, or for those people who are used to adminning Exchange servers or Exchange Online, a distribution group for like a department, it replaces that. And then Outlook email is used for people outside of your company. And that's how we use it at Xerillion. And it absolutely will be a 90% reduction in emails in Outlook. And I'll take you through that as well. It'll replace your file server. At Xerillion, we went from having Office 365, which really just meant Exchange Online, to still having a file server. Then we transitioned to going to Box.com because I couldn't figure out SharePoint, and then saying, okay, well, this is silly. We should just figure out SharePoint and OneDrive and make it work, which we did. And so up until recently, we would transition somebody's file server into SharePoint Online document libraries. But if you move into Teams files, I'm going to show you, it's so much more intuitive to work with. The back end is still SharePoint Online document libraries. Don't worry, it's still there. All the technologies, all the features and everything that you get when you work inside of SharePoint, it's still there. But working with Teams files, the security is easier to set up, easier to manage. And that could be your first foray of getting your company into Teams without telling anybody that you're there. But it will replace that. But it's much nicer when you go into Teams and then you have your internal communications, which go from emails to being posts or chats right next to your files. That is huge. And I'll show that as well. Teams will replace your phone system. So the Microsoft phone system works phenomenally well. We are now a year and a half into using it here at Xerillion, probably moved about 500-600 end users into it. It's great. And what we do is we put people into the Microsoft phone system into the Skype for Business app. You can certainly use it with a regular voice over IP phone, but typically most users that we put in just want to go ahead and use the app on their desktop or the app on their mobile device, which is fine. And that's how I use it. And that's how we use it at Xerillion. But now we're shifting that into Teams. So in addition to having all of your internal collaboration, your conversations in Teams, and all the files for departments, customers, projects, products that you're working on, then you also have the phone system right there inside the same app. Make, receive calls, schedule meetings, all that sort of stuff. And it works really, really well. And I'm going to talk about that in more detail as well. It will replace your audio conferencing system. And by that, I mean the traditional dial in with a phone number, put in a conference ID. I'm not a huge fan of audio-only conference calls. You just miss too much. I'm going to talk about that as well, because if you want a truly modern workplace, you're going to have to turn on your video. If you don't want to do that, you want to stick with the audio conferencing, Teams will do that. And I'll show you how easy it is to light up a meeting. A video conferencing system. If you want to be able to say, we have people all over the place, or even people in other parts of the building, let's just go ahead and we want a video conference system that we can all get in real quick. We can share our desktop, turn on our videos, and it doesn't matter where anybody is at. We can have good, efficient meetings. Teams does that. And then it's a video streaming system. That's what we're using right now. So we're using Teams live events. We used to use Skype broadcast meetings. Now we use Teams live events. This is a bigger company thing, but it's still relevant if you're doing webinars, town halls, if you want to present to hundreds or thousands of people, then what you can do is you can use Teams live events. And I'm going to talk about that more in detail as well. So if you look at all the things that you need to run your business, that stuff right there, it's very practical. None of this stuff is pie in the sky stuff. Teams will replace all this. We live this at Xerillion day in and day out. It works phenomenally well. And it wasn't some huge hurdle to get over. And when you have Microsoft Teams, you'll get all the enterprise capabilities of SharePoint Online with a much simpler user interface. And it'll reduce your management stress. It'll increase your management confidence. You can work productively anywhere. So whether you're using the Teams desktop app and you're on your laptop, or you're checking in on the company on your phone, the Teams mobile app, those two things work together. You can be anywhere. So let's talk about your Outlook mailbox real quick. It's a communications dumpster. You get emails and files in the form of attachments on those emails from coworkers, your boss, your customers, your vendors. People are trying to sell you stuff. People are trying to scam you. Industry daily emails, alerts and notifications. It's unsorted, unprioritized, varying levels of relevance, and you have version after version of attached files, and only you have access to it. So you think about that mailbox that you have. It's like having a user folder that is just yours, just you have access to it, and things get sent to you and it gets dropped in your mailbox. If you send stuff out to multiple people or a distribution list, it gets dropped individual mailboxes, and it's siloed. So when you're collaborating with people, you're batting these emails back and forth, and you can get these email chains that go on 5, 10, 15, 20 responses long, filling up your mailbox. And Microsoft's tried to come up with creative ways to handle that, put in conversations and things like that. But the fact is, it's just a dumpster. Everything is going in there. So imagine if you only got emails that were truly relevant to you, and all individual emails and files about a customer, a project, product, or department were automatically sorted. And all group emails and files about a customer, project, product, or department were automatically sorted and stored in the right place. With one click, you could go right to where all that is, all there. And just by the way you work with the app, which it's intuitive, it's not hard, everything's in the right place. You don't have to create rules inside of your inbox, you don't have to manually move emails around into certain folders or public folders. Search is easy, and then new people have access to that information, not just an empty mailbox. So let's talk about that new person who starts in the company, and they get brought in, they're put on a project or product, or they're part of a department. Well, they start day one with an empty mailbox. So people got to feed them stuff from their mailboxes, and then they got to say, well, the files you're looking for, it's over in this folder, and these are the files you need. They got to try to point them around to it. But what if they were part of the marketing department, and they could just start day one, and they could see all the group conversations about everything the marketing department was doing, and right next to that were all the files that the marketing department was working with, all the stuff that they should have permissions to get to from day one. They can see it, and they can start right away. That's far superior to the experience that you get inside of a mailbox. Well, that's Microsoft Teams. And so what you also get in Teams, in addition to having all the conversations, the collaboration, and files right next to each other, that's all completely relevant because it's all internal communications. There's no vendors inside there. There are no people trying to sell you stuff or solicit you or send you any spam or any of that sort of stuff. It's all internal stuff. And so when you get notifications, it's meaningful to spend your time responding to that stuff. And then inside of Teams, then of course you get the phone system. And a flat rate domestic calling plan is $12 per month. And there's no additional taxes on top of that $12 per month. Microsoft has a web page where it shows that they pay the taxes inside the $12. So for most phone plans, you take whatever the rate is and you got to add on another 30-35%. You have a dial-in audio conferencing system, the video conferencing system, and the video streaming system. And as I mentioned before, you get a file server replacement, and the back end is SharePoint Online. It's not something different, it's just the interface is different. And the front end interface is much simpler and more intuitive. And the security management is much easier than SharePoint. So what is Microsoft Teams? It is known as a chat-based workspace and is a competitor with Slack. Just like when I see time and time again, people get set up with Office 365. They'll have the email, they'll have the desktop apps, they won't really know what to do about the files. So they'll have a file server, or they'll have a subscription to Dropbox or Box.com. The same thing applies when people are using Slack. They will have Office 365 for email, desktop apps. Maybe they went ahead and moved their files into SharePoint, but they have the Slack subscription. That's costing them a couple $1,000s a year. Well, you already have the same capabilities in Microsoft Teams. You don't need that Slack subscription. Slack requires another paid subscription, while Teams is included in Office 365. And Teams is a modern group collaboration system inside of Office 365. And let me break it down a little further. Microsoft Teams, I'm going to call it with a big T, is a desktop app, a mobile app, a web app, and a cloud service in Microsoft 365. Microsoft Teams with a small t is a security grouping using Office 365 groups. Now I'm just about to pull up Teams. Hang in there with me. It's not going to be all slides all the time. But what's inside of a team? The security grouping that I'm talking about. Channels. And what's inside of a channel? The conversations, all the group collaboration, the chats, and the files. That's the area where I was talking about. You have all the group collaboration, all the files side by side next to each other. So now let me show you this. So here we get Teams. Let me give you a breakdown here. When you start Teams, this is what you got. All right, you have these main navigation buttons right here. You got your activities, your chats, your teams, your meetings, phone system right there, and then your files. At Xerillion, we spend most of our time in these first 5 buttons. So here I'm in the marketing channel. Now here I've clicked on Teams. So anytime I need a security group, whether that's sales, everybody at Xerillion, marketing, marketing, recruiting, accounting, HR, finance, legal, I will create a team. If you look at this for a second, especially for the IT pros that are watching this, I want to make a correlation for you. So here are our file folders. It looks very similar to what you would have if you had a file server, and it's meant to be that way. It's meant to look like that. If you work inside of these secured file folders, you have full drag and drop capabilities, all that sort of stuff, but we're using Teams files in on OneDrive to synchronize this. What's important here is that we have these individual secured folders, much like you would have on a file server. Accounting, finance, HR, legal, marketing, sales, they're all right there. And here's marketing. So each one of these, the typical file server setup would work something like this. You create a security group inside of Active Directory. Let's say in this case, it's marketing. You create the marketing security group. And then what you do is you'll create a marketing shared folder. You will apply that marketing security group to the shared folder. And then to add or remove permissions for users, you'll add or remove them to the marketing security group. It's very similar inside of Teams. These are effectively, think of them as security groups. So, there's a security group. There's certain people that have access to accounting, certain people have access to HR, finance, legal, recruiting, just like any other business would have set up at their company. And the same thing in marketing. So if I go and click on this, I can go to Manage Team. That's it. Boom. Add members. That's it. Add or remove members right there. So that's the first thing. That is way more intuitive than working inside of SharePoint document libraries or even the file server. So there's the first thing. So we have the security grouping. Now, the important thing below that, then we have our individual channels. And inside the channels, then each team gets a general channel. And then we have our conversations. We have our files. There's other tabs here. I'm not going to get into those today. But the two most important things are all of the group conversations that go back and forth. All the threads of emails that you have that are 15, 20 messages long, those all stay inside the conversations tab. None of this is inside of your mailbox. And all the files that the marketing group is working with, they're all right here, right next to the conversations. And I'm going to show a little bit further how having them in here is easy to bring up, collaborate, work on, comment on these documents. And also, just so everybody understands, I know what you really want with the files. If you look at this and go, well, that's great, they're here. Nobody wants to, they want to be able to, in Windows File Explorer, and be able to drag and drop and all that stuff. Got you covered. So if I'm over here, there they are. That's it. All of this was constructed with Teams files, and then using OneDrive, files on demand, we're synchronizing whatever folders that we want. In this case, I have access to these and I work on these, but it's right there. Now, this is what I'm telling the IT people here. You could start moving your files into Teams. You don't even have to let anybody know. You're not hiding anything from them, but this is where the files are going to go. But you could still give them this map drive look and feel. And so then you would be actually getting the abilities of file on demand and SharePoint Online without even having to tell them or make them feel they're doing anything unusual. It looks and feels very much the same. But here we go. So again, we click on Teams. Then we have the marketing team, the security grouping that we created. We have channels inside of it. Every team gets a general channel. And from there, you have your conversations and your files. So this is a real efficient way to work. And as you can see, just by going into Team, if I have some new information that I need to post, it's automatically in the right place. If somebody else has to respond, they can go into there and respond to my posting, and it's automatically in the right place. That's a very powerful feature. That group's collaborating, and all they had to do is click on the channel they need, and they're already putting the stuff where it needs to go. Nobody had to think about sorting anything. So when do you create a team? Well, you can create teams by departments, finance, HR, sales, marketing, like we have Xerillion, in which this is how I would set these up. You could do it by customers, Acme, Globex, Initech. I'm just making up some names here. You could do it by products, Office 365, Azure, Windows, those are Microsoft products. So, the Windows team presumably has their own team and then a bunch of channels underneath it. Or you could do it by projects. But it's important to understand when you create a team, if you have access to a team, you have access to all the conversations and files and channels inside of it. So it's an important point, and I get asked about this. If I go back over here, now you could create additional channels. We have new one, there's all kinds of things you might have inside of your marketing group. Here's one's new leads, and we have some content channels and stuff like that. You could break that apart, but sometimes people ask me, can I break down the security further with these individual channels? You cannot. If you need to do that, you need to make a separate team. At Xerillion, again, we have stuff that looks very similar to how you would have departments or that would look on a file server. We also have, it's not showing here, but we have a clients team. So at Xerillion, the way we decided to do it, we have a clients team, which everybody has access to. So we don't need to split it out in our particular case. And then we have a channel for each client. And then each client, their channel, then would have the conversations about them and the files about them. And it's beautiful. Now, if you had a situation where you need to create a group and only a certain group should have access to the information about a client A or client B or whatever, then what you would do is you would create separate teams for that. And by the way, you don't have to have all of these displayed here. You could just select which one you want to have access to, and then either make it a favorite or not a favorite, and then it just won't display up here for you. So again, how to think about teams. Think of them as security groups by department, customer, project, or products. And then teams channels, think of them as a combination of email distribution group, an Exchange public folder, and a secured folder. And that's an important point. The teams channels take the place of distribution groups, email distribution groups. And for those people, there's not many people that have Exchange public folders anymore. But for those few people that do have them, it's like if you took the email distribution group away and everybody had to post in the conversations tab, and if you took the public folder away and everybody had to post in the conversations tab, and then you took all the files that were inside of all those emails as attachments, you'd have a secured folder, and it would also replace the file server folder as well. By the nature of how Teams works, conversations and files are automatically in the right place, sorted by person, group, department, the client, or product. You just click on the channel and it's all right there. So if we go in back to your mailbox, where the situation, we've all been there, you come back from vacation, you have hundreds of messages sitting in your mailbox, you got to spend half a day to go through and sift it all out and get caught up on things. Well, you have all those emails. Again, they're unread, unsorted, unprioritized emails in your mailbox dumpster. And when you come back and you look at those unread messages, they're like all these alerts, like, hey, you need to look at this, hey, you need to look at this. But a lot of it is either not super relevant to you, maybe not important. You got to pick the important ones out of there and hopefully you didn't miss anything. With Teams activity alerts and chat alerts, you only get alerted when someone tags you in a posting, when someone responds to a posting you put in, when someone tags the entire team in a posting, or someone sends a post to a private group or chat. Okay, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that right now. We're going to do a quick little demo of this. This is when I saw this and I started working with them, I'm like, wow, okay, this is fantastic. That's great that it replaces your file server. That's great. It sorts all of the conversations in one place. But how does it really make you more efficient? Well, it's the alerts. So let me go into that. So here's the activity alerts right there. And here's the activity alerts for anything that comes across in a channel that is relevant to me. And then here's chats. And I'll show those in a moment. So when I click on activity, there's this huge feed that would show up here. I have sorted it to unread because I want you to see real quick how this works, and it's real obvious how this happens. But independent of anything that's going on, for example, in the marketing channel for conversations, when I click on an activity, all of the things that I was either somebody tagged me in a posting, or somebody responded to my posting, or tagged me as part of a group, the marketing group, for example, I would get alert. So Will, could you tag me into the marketing general channel? Okay, so there you go. So what happened is Will went and posted and tagged me in a message in the marketing conversations tab. And then I got an alert. You see that little one right there? And for example, Olga, you don't have to do this, but if Olga tagged me or I got tagged somewhere else in some other channels inside of Teams, this would start building up. And these are just showing, I'm sorting these as unread right now. If I turn that unread filter off, there's tons of them in there. But the beauty of it is if I go in there and I see an alert, there's somebody needs me. I click on that. Or the same sort of experience happens when you're on the mobile app and maybe you're in between meetings or you're in your car in the parking lot or something like that, and you see this and you go, oh, you can check in real quick. Now I see the alert, I click on it right there, boom, it takes me to the right spot. And then Will tagged me. He had mentioned me in here and says, I need you to take a look at this file. And I just go ahead and click thumbs up, saying, hey, I got it. Or if I wanted to, I could say, hey, Will, sure, I'll take a look at this. And if I go ahead and do that, Will then will get an activity alert as well. And if I just did the thumbs up, he will get an activity alert. I'm going to talk a little bit about how important the thumbs up piece as well is for communications and efficiency. But that's activity alerts. Now, what I'll also do is I'll show you the chat stuff. So what we're talking about here is everything that goes on inside of a team. So a product, project, department, customers. How about if you're just doing one-on-one conversations with somebody or just a couple people? Well, that's what the chat section's for. So we're going to go and show you that too. So here's Olga, here's Will, here's Francis. So Olga, could you go ahead and just send me a private chat?
Sure thing, Wayne.
There's a little activity showing up there. Boom. So now there's an activity alert in chats. All right. So you saw the activity alert over here, which is for teams. So anything that I'm working, again, projects, departments, products, the big group collaboration things, I would get alerts and activities, and I can click through and boom, boom, boom. It'll take me to the right spot in this section. I can respond, give a thumbs up. I can add some additional information. But on chats, this replaces where you have, you'd send an email to one person, then you would send an email back, then you send an email to one person. And again, it's all sorted. If you imagine if you went into Outlook, everybody likes the search functionality inside of Outlook. But I would say this about search in Outlook. Once you do a search, once you go past maybe a couple weeks, it starts to get harder and harder to find what you're looking for. God help you if you're looking for an individual person and for a specific file or a specific customer or something like that. And if you're collaborating a lot with that person and they're a part of a lot of groups, you're still going to have to sift through all your search results. Well, what I think is fascinating here is that here's Olga. She posted something. Okay, I'm going to check in real quick. I click on this, takes me right to it. And she's asking, do I have a minute? Again, I could do a thumbs up if I wanted here to, or I could respond to it. But all the conversations that Olga and I have, all the conversations that Will and I have, all the conversations that Francis and I have, they're here. They're sorted just by the way we're working on it. And by the way, if we had files we were working on, there's a files tab for it. Olga and I don't have any that we put in, just between the two of us here, but you have that files tab, so if that files tab wasn't there, those would be attachments inside of emails, which is very challenging to deal with. If I go into Teams or go back to marketing, go into files, we just work on one version of the document. So this webinar document that we put together here, it's a PowerPoint inside of here. We don't keep track of versions. We don't save and send it back and forth or deal with having that on a separate file server and all that sort of stuff. It's right there. And if I want to work on it, I can click right on it, pull it up, work on it. If Olga wants to get in there, if Will wants to get in there, we can all be in there at the same time. And it's keeping track of the different versions as we go. And we can comment on that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you that right now. Let me pull up a document, just find one real quick. And there's one on cloud management. So let me just show you this. So just by opening the document, I'm in preview mode right now. I'm not editing. I could, and I'll show you that in a moment. But you can see right this. Here's conversations specifically about this document. And right here, if I were working on this, for example, with Olga, we've gone back and forth on the list a little bit. I could just say, hey, Olga, please check on the second paragraph. Let me know. Posted that, she'll get an activity alert with this document. You didn't have to send a version. She'll get it there, and then she can go ahead and make the change. And then right here in the comments section, she can just post right there as well. Say, Wayne, all done, or give me the thumbs up. Great. And we're moving back and forth on this stuff. And this isn't like the comments section that's saved inside the document. This is a link to this document that we get all the features and teams, and we can collaborate together effectively about documents. And we use this all the time at Xerillion. But again, for sure, if I want to edit in Word, I can just click right on this. It'll bring up Word. It'll give me the autosave. I didn't need a VPN. I didn't need the file server. Our computer's encrypted. So it's encrypted while it sits here on my computer. It's encrypted in transit, and it's encrypted while it sits over Microsoft's cloud. Most on-premises systems are not set up that way. And this is a much more efficient way to communicate. Again, there's no versioning that goes on here. And I want to show you while I'm on that, I'm going to go ahead and show the mobile app here. So you can see here, I've got activities, I got chats, I got teams, meetings, calls, and right here, here's marketing. Let me click on that. Here's the chats, here's the files. The Teams mobile app experience is incredible. Incredible. And I'll show it a little bit more towards the end here. But all of that's right there for me. So this is if you're checking in on something, quick hits of information, just making sure you're responding to stuff. You're not going to do all your heavy duty development side of this, of course. That is super helpful. So your Outlook mailbox is separate from your file server file folders. So you're in attachment and document versioning hell. So each team channel and chat channel have built-in file folders, and then files are right next to your conversations. And again, by the nature of how you're working inside of Teams, everything's put in the right place. And you could tag people in files to comment on them, and you don't need to send them forward, which I was just showing you a minute ago. There's quite a bit here. I'm going to run through this quick, but my point about this is all the enterprise features you get inside of SharePoint, you then have those with your files in Microsoft Teams. So let me point these out. A much simpler, intuitive security administration, which I showed you how to add users, how to think of them as security groups, and you can just easily add or remove users to those groups. It's much easier getting up to speed than SharePoint document libraries. So that is less intuitive. We usually have to walk people through a few times where to go, to add or remove permissions in SharePoint document libraries. You have much better search capabilities. So right here, we could go ahead and search on anything we want to. So you like the search capabilities inside of Outlook? Well, you got them in a big way here in Microsoft Teams. If I just want to, click on webinar, it'll bring up any conversations, any files with the word webinar in that team that I'm in. And then, so you can set up the secured folders to look and feel and work like map drives in Windows File Explorer. You'll have full drag and drop capabilities, no VPN is needed. You can sync the files for offline use. So again, I'm not going to get into a OneDrive and files on demand, but it's a very powerful feature. The OneDrive gives you the capability to say, do you want me to just synchronize the names of the files? And so you can search and it feels like the files are right there, but only when you actually want to see the file. At that point, I will actually sync it locally for you so you can work on it. And it's not like you're making changes to this file on a file server that's up in the cloud and you have this real-time connection, the file can get corrupted. Microsoft knows about that. And so that's why they created files on demand. So again, first thing it'll do is it'll synchronize all the names, which is really fast, but only when you click on a file will it actually sync locally. And from that point then, if you use the file a lot, it'll stay synced. But if you don't, you can leave it up to OneDrive to say, well, he doesn't really use this file that much anymore. I'm going to go ahead and remove the file, but still show the name there. And one of the things they'll come up with syncing files, and it's an important point for the IT pros out there. Well, but if I sync files and I have no control and people have these sync copies, well, listen, if you got a VPN and a file server and that's the extent of your security on the system, there's nothing stopping anybody from grabbing all that and just dumping it wherever they want. You have no visibility on that. You get all kinds of visibility if you have document libraries and you're using SharePoint technology with Teams. But if you want to take it further, you can configure to either audit or block files that are moved outside of OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams using Windows Information Protection. That's a whole other discussion. I won't get into that today. And you could also use Azure Information Protection to put security inside the document. So I have a video for this, but basically, if you took the concept of putting a security group inside of a file folder, but if you then said, well, but what happens when that document leaves the file folder, the secured folder? Well, what if we could take the security group and just put it into the document and it just stayed with that document wherever it went? That's Azure Information Protection. And then you get retention policies. In Office 365, we do not manage or deal with backups. That's all Microsoft. What we have to do is manage retention policies. So for you, that might be 3 years, 7 years. For most people watching this, they're not aware what the default policies are for Office 365. Again, I have another YouTube video about that. You probably should get up to speed on that. But if you want, you can just have a forever retention policy on all of your files. You will get that capability inside of Teams. And then you can set up data loss prevention policies as well. You can have file classification security policies, and you can also set up, you can configure alerts on unusual amounts of file, copy, and delete. That's an E5, Microsoft 365 Enterprise E5 thing, but that's Cloud App Security. But you have all of this, even though you have this simple interface for your file and document sharing. With Teams, you get all of these enterprise capabilities that are not difficult to configure. It's an important point, but are very powerful. And a few more things. I showed you the search capabilities. Bookmarks, very handy. So if I go into Teams and any of these conversations, I could just go ahead and click, I could bookmark it. So if there's an important piece of information in that conversation that I want to hold on to, or a serial number or some important tidbit, I could click bookmark. I could go up in here, and then what I could do is I could go and saved, and there's all the little bits of information that I've saved. Emailing into channels. So one of the questions will be, well, Wayne, now I'm in Outlook here. Let's say I've got an important conversation with a customer and I want to bring this into the team. How do I do that? Okay, the first thing I'm going to tell you is there is not a drag and drop yet. Would it be nice? You bet. Is there a long list of Microsoft would be nice things that they're working on? Absolutely. And it gets better and better month after month. But how you do that and how we do it, so let's say if there's something I want to bring in, I go to the marketing channel, I get the email address, copy it, season pass at Sun Valley. Okay, I'll take this. So let's say I want to send that into the marketing group. I click forward, and I go ahead and paste that, and then I send it on. And that'll go right into the marketing channel. Another thing that I'll do, if I want to include even a conversation we're having with a client or vendor or something like that, I want to be able to keep that inside of the Teams, I'll often just go ahead and BCC that. I don't want to CC it because that means every single conversation back and forth is going to be dumped into that channel, which is not what I want. Now we're going back to email, but if I want to grab that specific one, I will go ahead and BCC that so it gets brought in. And then we will go back and continue the collaboration with the team inside of Microsoft Teams. and we're getting towards the end of this. But at this point about new content and a quick check through your company or team, this is a management or owner thing. You can see inside of Microsoft Teams, I have some teams that are showing up as bold and white, and then some that are not. Well, what does that mean? That means there's new content inside of these teams, but I didn't get an activity alert. In other words, there's new content inside that team, but nobody tagged me, nobody responded to my post, so it didn't throw an alert up there for me. There's days where I'll be like, I just kind of want to catch up on what's going on from the clients, from projects, for a certain group. I'll see there's new content, I'll go in there and I'll just run through it. I'll go click, click, click. It's an amazing experience. Within 15, 20 minutes, let's say, I'm running through conversations that nobody was trying to bring me into it. They were dealing with things. And maybe once in a while, I'll go ahead and comment, get my 2 cents. Nobody was necessarily asking for it. But at the end of that, you're like, this is great. I'm caught up on the company. I certainly responded to the stuff that was in my activities and my chats, but I went a little further as a manager, and I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and look just what's going in the other departments or projects and things like that. Again, within 15, 20 minutes, I've done this many times. I'll maybe chime in on a few things or not, just kind of know what's going on. Man, that's a great experience. You do not have that capability in your Outlook world. You just don't. It's all a bunch of stuff, junk in there. Everything we do is really internally is in Teams. There's no outside stuff that comes in. Important point though, you might be wondering, can we collaborate with external people if we allow them into Teams? Absolutely. Okay, an example of that would be with our accountant. We've given access so she can collaborate in finance with us, and it works just fine. Likes are so important. So that's the thumbs up, the classic Facebook thumbs up thing. It's simple, effective confirmation to say, got it, sounds good, thanks. And there's no stressing over wording for a proper tone. So any manager or owner has been there where when you're saying stuff, if you're not careful, the way you can convey it, because there's no tone in those words, you're worried it can come off heavy or harsh. And so in addition to just trying to get through your day and send certain things on their way or respond to people, you're thinking, okay, well, I'm starting to respond. Well, I got to soften that up a little bit. I want to make sure I'm not hurting anybody's feelings or making sure this doesn't come off the wrong way. That is real stress as a manager. And then sometimes you go like, oh, I just want to move on. And you're sitting there spending an extra 5 minutes trying to respond to something. What if you could just give it a thumbs up? Olga or Will, they send me something and they say, hey, Wayne, here's something you should know. And I just click the thumbs up and we're done. We're done. They feel good. I feel good. They know I saw it. I've confirmed I saw it. And I like it when people give me the thumbs up. It just confirms very quickly, very easily. They're all on the same page. And we use those extensively at Xerillion. And then emojis and animated GIFs. You could turn these off in your Teams channels, but we use them a lot and they're great, especially in our Xerillion channel. So the Xerillion team in the general channel there, that's where everybody has access to it. And that's where birthdays, celebrations, events, babies being born, or just things everybody needs to know and it's disseminated. It goes right into the Xerillion channel. And a lot of times that's where we'll put in like somebody was praised by a client or, if somebody said, hey, you guys did a great job on a project, we'll go in here, I could click on the GIF and I could go, congrats. And there's all kinds of funny, silly stuff in there that you could put. And people love doing it. It lightens things up. You could create memes and stickers and post those in there. And of course, all kinds of emojis. They make work more fun. Let's talk about the Microsoft phone system. The call quality is outstanding. The Teams desktop and mobile apps work really well. So let me show you those real quick. In here, you can see, people's status. If I was showing everybody in the company, you can see some people on a call, Will's in a meeting. If you click on my status, it says, I'm presenting. It shows that. I didn't set that. It just set that on its own. And you can see if they're out of the office, online, away. And so to know that status really helps move things along. So wouldn't it be great to just be able to go click on here and say, I got to talk to, Olga, but she's set to do not disturb, or I see she's out of office. I don't know. I'm not over where she's at right now. And so knowing that, then I think, well, it's a waste of time to try to, call her or send her a message. I'm just, maybe go post something or come back later to talk to her. Or if somebody's in a call, to see that if you have the phone system set up, it's like, maybe they're on hold. I can send them a chat message real quick and see if they can, I can move on. But we have it right there. And of course, you have the classic dial pad. You could copy and paste phone numbers right into here. You can park calls if you need to. Here's your call history, your voicemails, and you can click on the voicemails and you can listen to it. It'll transcribe it if it understands it. And then the same thing on the mobile app. Here we go. If I click on, calls, voicemails here, make a call, dial pad, or you could just go ahead and add your contacts in there. But it's all right there. And I think it's important to point out is the mobile app on the phone, it's super light on the battery. And that would be a worry. So it's really, and everybody has their personal phones. They download their the company apps, including Teams, which then they have a company phone number on there. They don't even have to give out their personal phone number. And that's how people reach it. And I have my Teams app on all the time. I receive calls. It doesn't do anything to my battery. I certainly get the calls. The call quality is really good, and I use that quite a bit. When you use it, you can certainly get a desktop phone, or you could just choose a headset. I like a dual ear. This is a Jabra Evolve 75, which is top of the line model. But again, a $12 domestic calling plan transcribes voicemails. You'll have the call history and voicemail section, and it's a full-fledged business phone system. So if you have groups of people, call center taking calls like we do, it certainly works great. And you have call trees, call queues, all that sort of stuff. And you don't even need to do ring to cell phone, but you could. So typically, people have a phone system, and they'll have their cell phone. They'll have the phone system ring their cell phone. So if they're not around the office, I don't even have that turned on, because the Teams mobile app, the phone system part of it, works so well. I don't need to have it simultaneously ring. And again, call parking is available, which is a Teams only thing. You don't have that in Skype for Business. And then there's Teams meetings. They're simple to create, easy to join. So I'm going to demo that real quick. So I go new item, new meeting, Teams meeting. That's it. There's the phone number. There's the conference ID. Right here is where they would actually click if they want to join their computer. But some people don't realize that, because that might not be super intuitive. So actually we have a little thing down here. It says to join with your computer, click on the link that says join the Microsoft Teams meeting above, and that's it. And so for me, I always send conference calls. I don't like to think like, well, who's calling who? Am I calling you? You calling me? We're trying to deal with that kind of politeness back and forth. Boom, I'll just send the meeting. We'll just join in here. And if you're a little late, fine. I'm just sitting here getting things done while I'm waiting for you. 95% of my phone conversations are done inside of Teams meetings. And then Teams meetings, they're meant for peer-to-peer real-time meetings. You have presenters and attendees, up to 250 attendees. And it works really well in the mobile app too. So you can see I could click join. I'm in meetings right there. Boom, 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 and I'm right in. Okay. And I've absolutely had this where, again, we're a video meeting company. Everybody's got to turn on their video, and it works really, really well. The thing is, when you join that, I've been in a situation where I'm in a parking lot in between visits or something like that. I just have my phone on the vent mount, and I join the meeting, turn the video on, and I'm right there with everybody else. Works beautifully. And then Teams live events. So this is where you actually get a production. So like when we're doing a Teams live event right now, there's attendees. People watching this, there's producers, and Olga's taking that role, and I'll talk about that in a second. And there's presenters, which I have that. But the difference is that when you have a producer, the producer has two sections. They have the go live, the live section, and they have the queue section. So you can actually queue up people, sources, videos, desktops that are sharing, make that person live. They go into a different part of the screen, then you can queue up the next person and bring them live. And this is where you can stream globally. Whether it's tens, hundreds, or thousands of people, you then can have these live events. Really good for town halls and stuff like that. And that requires an enterprise subscription. So getting towards the end of this, pro tips for making the transition: please spend some time training. If you're not willing to do the training, find a company you can work with to get you launched properly. You're gonna need to understand and get an idea how to get this set up. So spend a couple hours going through some training in Microsoft Teams, how to use it. Maybe you start with your department. You can't be in a team by yourself. It's an important point. Or again, get someone to get you launched properly, but get it done right from the start. And turn on your video, please. Audio only isn't good enough. When you get on a meeting with me, I will be in Teams. I always turn my video on. I would say 99% of my conversations, even when they're joining on their computer, even when I'm pretty sure they got a video camera, they never turn their video on. I just don't get it. You lose so much when you don't have that video. And it's an event we're going to have soon. How do you make work from home or remote work or people that are not in the same city, not in the same office? How do you make that work? You're so worried about losing your company culture. You're so worried people aren't being able to get their work done. They're not going to be working as efficiently. The company culture part, if you turn on the video, I'm telling you, it works just fine. The CEO has to inform the company that they've made this big investment in their modern workplace method. And this will impress new people coming on into the company. Imagine if you started your company and everybody's got, they hand you a Windows 7 computer with Office 2010 on it, and that's how you're starting. Versus, wow, we have the latest and greatest stuff over here. We have a digital workplace set up. As long as you're getting your work done and you're joining meetings and stuff like that, we're good. Imagine that. Imagine, do you think that would draw in better people or not? Couple key points. People have to be reminded constantly to not send emails when they should have posted to a channel or a chat. Point number 2, people have to be reminded constantly to not send emails when they should have posted to a channel or chat. And I'm going to finish up. The third point, people have to be reminded constantly to not send emails when they should have posted to a channel or chat. Now, to be fair to them, they've been in Outlook world 10, 15, 20 years. This is the way I do things. And Teams sounds fantastic, but they will always regress back to sending emails back and forth. And I'm in a position where I own the company and I can say, people have seen the light. We're going to go into Teams. And this is what we shall be doing. I can do that. It's a unique position. I know not everybody watching this is going to be able to do that. I've talked to other people like, man, that sounds great, but I just can't get anybody to do it. It does need leadership. It does need ownership to be on board in a serious way. And it can't be like, well, I want everybody else to do it, but I'm just going to be sending emails back and forth. It'll just defeat the whole purpose of working inside a modern system like Teams. So expect 3 to 6 months of polite reminding. I don't know who's going to do that in your organization, but it would be very clear if the owner or the CEO of the company, he gets an email sent to him, if he was the one saying, hey, again, could you please post this into Teams? It's what I did. And even with tech people here, I still was doing it. I don't have to do it anymore. People are really, really good about that. But again, we're probably about a year into seriously, heavily being inside of Teams and making that transition. Some tips I would say, turn off email distribution lists. That's what I did after a Teams orientation. And a metric, if you want a metric on how well it's working, it's very easy to measure the number of monthly internal emails inside the company. You can measure that. It's not hard to do. And then it's also possible to set up a data loss rule that just says, hey, I noticed the senders and the recipients are both internal in the organization. Maybe this should be in Teams. You can set that up. Okay, wrapping up here. So the upcoming webinars we have, how we grew revenue 47% in 2018 while shifting to work from home. We still have an office. I'll go over all of that, but most of the people are not there day in, day out. And I'm going to be talking about the magic of Teams workflows and the Microsoft phone system, why the Microsoft phone system inside your laptop makes a difference, as opposed to being a device sitting next to your laptop or desktop, how we transitioned, and why turning on your webcam matters so much. So I'm very passionate about this. I know it works. I know how to make it work. I'll be talking about that. I did have somebody, reach out to me one time and said, look, if I'm just the one bringing this up, it's just going to sound like, well, I just want to work from home. And then, ownership and leadership, they're going to be like, they're not really going to be listening to me. I certainly understand when you get owners of companies together and there's no employees around, that when we talk about work from home, the big things come up. Well, our company culture is going to be sacrificed. There's going to be no company culture. Like the idea that everybody's coming to the office and they're throwing flowers around and everybody's happy with it, being in the car and the commute and all that sort of stuff. All right, so the company culture. And the other thing is, people aren't going to get work done. They're going to be by their TV, they're going to be goofing around, stuff like that. I can tell you, if you do this right, people really appreciate the benefit and you don't have to skip a beat. Then the next one is going to be real world IT pro management of Microsoft 365 Enterprise Cloud Services. This is about moving from servers to portals. So especially for the IT pros out there who are watching this, the IT managers, you're used to logging into servers and managing there. You need to skill up and get to the point where you're managing cloud portals. They're even more relevant. You're needed even more. The skills are even more sophisticated. I'm going to be talking about that. And I'm going to be talking about why enterprise cloud IT pros are needed more than ever. If you can scale up your world of supporting servers and stuff like that, that world is decreasing. But the world of the cloud enterprise world is vastly increasing. So you need to get an understanding of how to manage those systems. And they're more sophisticated than anything you're managing on premises. And I'm going to be talking about the 9 portals of enterprise cloud IT management and why dealing with server hardware sucks. Not that that isn't super obvious to begin with, but I want to wean people away from that server hardware. And then August, we're going to be doing the Microsoft phone system migration 2019. So that's probably the one that there's the most interest. The fact that we have a Microsoft phone cloud practice is different. And so I've got several videos on it. I even updated one last year. So I'll be going through everything. At that point, we will have been 2.5 years inside the Microsoft phone system. And we are fully inside of Teams in the Microsoft phone system too. And I'll be talking about why we love it and how to make it work really, really well. And then October 2019, that's going to be your file server to Teams. So all that stuff I talked about earlier about having your file server inside of Microsoft Teams. I'm going to be going over that, how to make it look like map drives for your users so they're comfortable, and then how to manage the enterprise class features, potential policies, data loss policies, classification and security labels, things like that. And then December, we'll be doing Azure Virtual Networks. So everybody's going to need Microsoft 365 Enterprise. I don't care if you're one person startup right now or a two person startup or you're 200, 300 users. Everybody's going to need that. People are going to need less and less servers. The real future of Azure, for example, is development of using serverless technology in Microsoft Azure. That's the future. But for many, 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 many years, we're going to be taking servers that we used to put on site, host on site. We're going to be putting those up into Azure Virtual Networks, virtual servers and sort of virtual networks, and we're going to be extending our local area network securely into a virtual network in Microsoft Azure. We're going to be talking about that, extending into an Azure VLAN, migrating third-party desktop apps, which is really what Azure is right now. And then also, by that point, we should be hopefully in general availability for Windows 10 Enterprise multi-user, which is huge. So right now, when we virtualize third-party desktop apps, put them in Azure, we'll have a couple servers, maybe a database server, a file server up there, and we'll certainly have a remote desktop server. Using remote desktop services, we have to buy the compute. In Azure, we have to buy the Windows Server licensing. We have to purchase the remote desktop licensing. Well, what's coming? It should be this fall, is that for anybody who is licensed with Windows Enterprise, E3 or E5, so that you can get that separate, or that if you already have Microsoft 365 Enterprise E3 or E5, you will have that, you'll be licensed for Windows 10 Enterprise multi-user. Bottom line is it's basically like creating a terminal server, remote desktop server with Windows 10. But the beauty of it is then I don't have to purchase the Windows licensing for the compute up in Azure, and I don't have to purchase the remote desktop licenses. That's huge. That will take the compute, the cost, the Azure consumption cost, it'll cut it in half. It'll enable a lot of people to get up inside of Microsoft Azure and for all the capabilities that Microsoft has in their data center. Anyway, hopefully we can talk about that time. Okay, so now we're at question and answer time. Okay, I think that is all of the questions then. Well, I hope this gave you an idea of where to go if you want to go ahead and get started doing yourself. Awesome. Do some training though. Please do training on it. Don't just go in and bump your head and just go, well, this sucks. Nobody's going to want to do it. And just revert to the way you've always been doing things. You got to move on. Microsoft's putting all of their effort into Microsoft Teams. This is where all of it's going. And so if you just want to stay in Outlook and you just want to stay in file folders, you're really limiting yourself. And it's just really not that exciting too. So get some training. If you don't want to do the training or you like the idea, you're like, look, intellectually, I'm capable of doing this. I can plan on it. I just don't have the time. And you want to talk to us further, then I'm going to go ahead and send you over to Will. Olga, can you send them over to Will, please?
Absolutely. Well, you are good to go.
All right. Thank you, Olga. And hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. If you're interested in talking more about Teams and what Wayne went over in his webinar today, or just general cloud services for your company, I would be the first person to talk to at Xerillion. During our first discussion, we can go over your company's current situation, your IT infrastructure, and then we can talk about the IT solutions that I think our company can provide to improve it. So as you can see on your screen, to get in touch with me or our team, you can either contact support at Xerillion.com by email, or you can give us a call at 847-995-9800. Some of you in attendance may have already spoken with me, so you know how to get in touch with me. But if you have not, then you can contact support and ask for Will. And that's all for me, so back to you, Olga.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we hope you join us next time. Thank you so much. Have a good one.